In a completely destructive move and an obvious blow to Bernie Sanders and his supporters, New York State has kicked Bernie Sanders off the primary ballot, effectively canceling the presidential primary in New York. This story is wild because there is absolutely no reason for this, except for pissing people off, except for trying to limit Bernie Sanders and his potential power during the convention. So before I get to more of my thoughts on this, let me share the top line and some of the some pieces from this HuffPost story. New York removes Bernie Sanders from the primary ballot. Let me go down a bit here. The New York State Board of Elections removed Bernie Sanders from the primary election ballot on Monday, disappointing Sanders and activists who called on the board to give New Yorkers a chance to cast symbolic votes for him. But they're not just symbolic, as I'll get to in a minute. Sanders and his allies want to accumulate enough convention delegates to be able to influence the Democratic Party platform and rules. The Biden campaign has indicated that it is open to working with Sanders on a compromise over convention delegates. So the idea here was if Bernie Sanders has enough delegates during the primary, then his party, or sorry, his should be his party, his campaign would have a say when it comes to the future of Biden's platform. So much like in 2016, Bernie Sanders had a say when it came to Hillary Clinton's platform. It would be similar this time around, and Bernie Sanders again would have a say, not as much of a say as Biden would have, but would have a say in Biden's platform going into November. That apparently is not going to be the case now. New York is a massive state with a lot of delegates. If there is no primary there now, then Bernie's not going to have the delegates. So the only other thing that they've really talked about, and they allude to that here, are these joint task forces where there are people from the Biden campaign and people from the Sanders campaign working together on policy solutions, which is so completely ridiculous, just appears to be purely symbolic. As we all know, the only reason Biden's platform is the way it is because of the corporate money that is supporting his campaign. Policies like Medicare for all, a single-payer healthcare system, already seen worldwide. I mean, Bernie Sanders had a platform that is for the people, built for the people without any special interest money influencing it. When it comes to Biden's campaign, the entire platform is designed by special interest money. So there is no real need for joint task forces because there is no debate to be had. The Bernie platform is the platform to go forward with, but Biden's campaign is not going to take it on because of those donors supporting his campaign. And it's also important to note here that Joe Biden did not secure the nomination with his policy platform. That isn't why anybody voted for him, any normal person that voted for Joe Biden. People voted for him because, first of all, the media told him, the media told them that Joe Biden was the most electable, despite the obvious fact that Hillary Clinton ran the exact same campaign as Joe Biden did back in 2016, and she lost to Trump. Yet somehow another moderate, a more conservative guy, is going to be more electable than Hillary Clinton is. Ridiculous. And the other piece of that being that a lot of people voted for Biden because he was Barack Obama's VP. And name recognition, familiarity with Joe Biden, that's why they supported him. Meaning, if Joe Biden took on Bernie's entire platform, the vast majority of his voters would not care. And in fact, many of them would like him more. There are many people that voted for Joe Biden. I believe I forget what state this is. It may have been Florida, where 30% of Biden voters thought Joe Biden supported Medicare for all. So we're talking people already don't even know what his platform is. His supporters don't even really know. They just like Joe Biden as the character, Joe Biden. They just like who he is, but they don't actually know why they support him. So if Biden took on Bernie's platform, he would be able to potentially get some of those supporters over. And also he would have to take on some personnel from Bernie Sanders' campaign so that people can actually trust Joe Biden to maybe fight for any of these things. But if Biden did those things, it would not turn off any of Joe Biden's base. And instead, it would excite and potentially get more voters out for him from the progressive wing of the party. But Joe Biden's not doing that because when it comes to his platform is the way it is because of the special interest money that supports his campaign. Just a little more from this news here. but a provision in New York's new budget empowered the state's Board of Elections to remove presidential candidates who have suspended their campaigns, prompting Sanders' partisans to scramble to preserve his ballot berth. They did not end up prevailing on the board's two Democrats, co-chair Douglas Kellner and Commissioner Andrew Spano, who voted unanimously to remove Sanders. The state's June 23rd presidential primary is now canceled. Just one comment here from Nina Turner, co-chair of Sanders' 2020 campaign. Quote, "Their decision is bad. It's bad for the Democratic Party, and it's bad for democracy. It has a chilling effect on democracy as we know it, because the ability of the people to weigh in was stripped from them before they had an opportunity to cast a ballot." So this is not going to go over well with not even just Sanders supporters, but working class voters in general. Keep in mind, about 40% of people don't normally vote. A lot of those people that don't normally vote were supporting Bernie Sanders in the presidential primary. So people that think, oh, if you supported Sanders, well, now you have to vote for Biden. A lot of those people were only engaged in politics in the election because of Bernie Sanders. These aren't typical Democratic voters. So to then just assume they're going to vote for Joe Biden is ridiculous. You have to actually engage that voter base with something substantial, something material, where they can see their lives potentially benefiting if they support you. With Joe Biden, they don't have that. And now they also clearly have a party that is actively working against their interests. I want to show this as well. This was from yesterday, where Bernie Sanders was challenging his possible removal from New York primary ballot. Clearly, he was not successful. But they say here the presidential campaign for Senator Bernie Sanders submitted a letter to the New York State Board of Elections on Sunday, challenging a looming decision on whether to keep him on the ballot for the state's primary. So that letter, I guess, had no effect. I want to share some reaction here from the internet. Emma Vigland, who is a New Yorker, tweets out, "There is zero reason this couldn't be done by mail. This is a deliberate move to undercut Bernie Sanders' negotiating power at the convention. I wanted to cast my vote for Sanders to put to paper my belief in his vision, and I'm deeply saddened by this cynical decision." Do I have another reaction here? I do not. So, actually, I think I have one more. Here we go. Nathan J. Robinson. Right as Democratic presumptive nominee became mired in an increasingly damaging sexual assault scandal, the Democratic Party canceled the primary in the largest state left to vote. They're making sure that if public opinion sours on Biden, voters cannot choose any alternative. So it's hard to argue with any of this. This is clearly done to limit any potential that Bernie Sanders may have when it comes to the platform, when it comes to maybe becoming the nominee, if that were a potential, depending on what happened with Joe Biden. There's a lot of talk right now about replacing Joe Biden at the convention. Like, this is just something that can happen. And if it's something that can happen, then you should replace him with Bernie Sanders, not Andrew Cuomo. How about someone who's actually in the race, who came in second in the primary? So we're going to see where this all goes. Because if they try and play that game, I mean, first of all, you got to think Democratic Party leadership has to be at least aware of how horrible of a candidate Joe Biden is. So if they are aware of that and they want to replace him, if they think replacing him with Andrew Cuomo or somebody else is going to solve any issues, they're crazy. Because you're going to have all these people recognize, wait, the Democratic Party just replaced Joe Biden with, say, Andrew Cuomo, and not Bernie Sanders, who clearly has a strong support base, came in second, is the most popular senator in the country. I mean, the Democratic Party is clearly an obstacle. And this is what they are showing people. They are an obstacle to progress rather than being part of the solution. And this also leads to another question about the down ballot races. So New York is still going to have, like, this isn't simply about saving lives and keeping people at home during a pandemic. No, because there is still down ballot races in the New York primary. That is still going on. So where you have like a race like Jamal Bowman running to replace Elliot Engel. I mean, that's an important race where I would love to see Jamal Bowman replace him. But if you're having low turnout, especially from Sanders supporters, then there's less of a chance of elections like that turning in the favor of the progressive candidate. So this is going to have an effect on the down ballot races in a sense where turnout's just going to be incredibly low. And the people that will likely end up winning most of these primary races are the people that already have their seat, are the incumbents. So it amazes me that like every time the Democratic Party finds a new inventive way to screw people over and piss people on the left off even more, and push them to the potential realization that, you know what, forget this Democratic Party, I'm done.